This particular Seiko Majesta is actually a very rare watch. And it's not because that was the intention. It's because Seiko essentially gave up on the Majesta line and the 5S42 movement you find in this particular watch after only a couple of years. It's like 1989, 1990 is when that particular movement was in production, and they just let it go. They gave up on it. And there are a number of theories why. I have my own. But before I get into what I believe is the reason why they let this particular model go to pasture, so to speak, I'm going to go over what a couple other people think. And one of the prevailing ideas is that they were already beginning to work on the spring drive, which they were far more interested in, and having competitive sweeping movements in the same market didn't make sense. That's one theory. Spring drive came out in 1997. Another theory is that the Majesta line had the looks, the style, and the design language of what would become Crador, right? And they were focused on Crador, and that was the way they wanted to go. So they just sort of said, you know what? Why have Majesta and Crador available to our customers? Why not just have one or the other? And Crador was the future, so they dropped the Majesta line, went with Crador. That's another idea. But I think it actually lies in the movement itself, because the movement has a couple of issues. And it's those issues that maybe swayed them into going another way. And the first of which is it's a very complicated movement to achieve the smooth sweep you get on the Majesta out of a Quartz watch. And so complicated, in fact, that servicing these watches is not easy. It is a challenge, right? Having them fully serviced and then attaining that smooth sweep again, not everyone can do it. It's not every watchmaker's dream to work on this watch, so to speak. So that's one issue. The other issue is, in order, again, to achieve that smooth sweep, it draws a lot of power out of the battery. So these watches tend to have roughly a year's worth of battery life out of them. You're changing the battery every single year. In some cases, some of these older models, you're changing it more frequently than that. I've heard of people who own these particular models that are changing them like every 9-10 months. And that can become an issue as well. It's something that maybe the brand didn't want associated with its watches, and especially its higher-end watches, because when this watch was released, it was around $600 when it came out in 1990. That is not an inexpensive price for a Quartz watch at that time. So having a watch that was at the top of their price range in the Quartz category, only last a year on a battery, and then have, significant service times required if anything went wrong with them, probably didn't appeal to Seiko. And I'm thinking that's why it was eventually let go. Now, the bonus is the 5S42 movement is an excellent movement. It's an amazing movement. So the majority of these watches I've come across run quite well, right? They're generally in very good shape till today. You find a 1990 Seiko Majesta, as long as it's running, it's probably running well. You can check the sweep of the hand just by looking at it for a minute. You'll get a good idea of how well that, they call it a viscose or viscosity gear, works in order to maintain that smooth sweep. And that's all you're really looking for. Outside of that, this is actually a relatively high jeweled movement for a Quartz movement. This is an 8 jewel movement, right? Like those are the kind of numbers you find in the newest Quartz movements by Grand Seiko now. So this is a really high-end movement with a very smooth sweep on a classic design that really doesn't go out of style. Some people take issue with the Cyclops at the date, but it doesn't bother me at all. That's, again, a sort of classic feature. It's time period specific, really. It suits that particular like 80s, 90s look. And I mean, because it's a Quartz, it's very slim, it wears very nice on wrist. I mean, if you don't know that much about it, and a lot of people don't, you're going to assume it's a mechanical because of that smooth sweep. Nowadays, you can find them, dependent upon condition, of course, between like $500 and just over $1,000 is kind of where they sit, which is fair. I mean, if this was anything but a Seiko in this condition from 1990 with a smooth sweep like that, running this well, you're probably paying a lot more. So this is actually kind of a budget luxury watch that has a bit of a story to it that's somewhat unique because it was only made for really like one model year, this particular model, that you can own for under $1,000. So why wouldn't you? If you're interested in this particular watch, it is for sale at the Toronto Timepiece Show, along with a number of other vintage models. So stop by. Again, if you see me, say hi and talk to the dealers about what they're asking for a Seiko Majesta. See you there.